Are You Afraid of the Dark was a TV show about a group of kids who told scary or creepy stories around a campfire. It aired from 1991 to 2000 with a 3-year gap from 1996 to 1999 when they made the new Midnight Society. The original Midnight Society consisted of Gary, Frank, David, Eric, Betty Ann, Kristen, and Kiki. Eric was the first to leave, and then after Eric it had come David and Kristen at the same time, and a little later Frank was the last one to leave the original Midnight Society. The new kids to come to the original Midnight Society were Stig, Samantha, and Tucker. Now Tucker was Gary's younger brother who later began the new Midnight Society. Now, I'll tell you a little bit about the characters. Gary, the guy who started the whole Midnight Society, he is a bit of a nerd. And he loves his magic, and his stories somewhat usually revolve around magic. The one thing they really do revolve around is a character he puts into all of his stories, and even some of the people around the campfire take his character and put them into their stories. And his character is Sardo. He has the saying, "No mister, accent on the dough." Then there's Betty Ann. She's a pretty average girl, and her stories usually leave you wondering at the end of them. There's also Kiki, who's a tomboyish type of girl, and she pretty much has just a variety type of chiller kind of stories. Then there's Frank, a punkish type of boy who will try and get in your face. He doesn't really have a guideline to the stories he tells, but he also has a reoccurring character in his stories just like Gary. His reoccurring character is Dr. Fink. People in the story usually get his name confused and usually think it's a Fink. But so then he goes on to say, no, it is Dr. Vink with a va, and then they usually say something about him being a nutbag, and then he's like, and I am not a nutbag. Kristen is another character. She likes to dress up, and most of her stories are lovey-dovey stories with young girls and such. And then there's David, who's a shy boy, and his stories usually revolve around the evils that you have on the inside, and like self-confidence, self-esteem, and such things like that. But then there's also Eric. He's a shy and quiet boy as well, and he only tells about 2 stories. He doesn't last too long, so he doesn't really have a guideline to his stories as well. As for the newcomers in the original Midnight Society, there was Stig, who was nicknamed for Stigma because his lack of hygiene, and his stories didn't really have a guideline as well because he only told 2 just like Eric. Then there's Samantha, who's shy, and she told stories similar to Kristen, but the difference between hers and Kristen's was that she dealt with more of love beyond the grave. Then there's Tucker, who's the really annoying younger brother, who his stories mainly revolve around relationships, usually families that aren't so good in the beginning, but they usually work out in the end. And that's pretty much it about what I'm going to say about the show for now. If you would like to add anything, you can always do a video response or just comment below. And any kind of feedback or anything is much appreciated. Thanks!